grew up feeling like perfection is the goal, 100 is the goal, straight A's is the goal, and anything less than perfection was unacceptable.
I need to stop. I need to slow down. This is not how my life should be. I want some joy and laughter because that's where I am right now. I don't know.
I have two friends who had a kid when they were 20 or 21, and then another one when they were after 40, and they were like, it's so different physically.
It's so unfair that like right when your career is in its biggest growth phase, you're also
What was it for you that you felt like, what was the defining moment where you're like, I need to stop. I need to slow down. This is not how my life should be. I want some joy and laughter because that's where I am right now. I don't know, with my career taking off and my kids getting older and asking for me to be present more, like, was there a moment you can pinpoint and say, something's got to give?
Yeah, I would say that it was probably just feeling very empty and disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working full time, I would see my kids maybe 2 hours a day. Like that's it, right? Because they go to
Yeah.
sleep at 8 p.m. and I get home like sometime, usually around 5 p.m. Um, and I was just like, what am I doing? And I felt empty inside. I was making good money. I felt like, academically successful. I was running clinical trials. I mentored residents and medical students. I was well published. I had like 50 publications on my CV. And I actually was promoted from assistant to associate professor like 2 years early, which is sort of a big deal. And I thought that when it happened, that I would feel like, oh my God, I did it. It's wonderful. But it happened and I was like, meh, what's
Yeah.
next? And it was just so short-lived, and I felt like I had sacrificed so much of myself and my connection with myself and my connection with my family for nothing. Not nothing, but
Yeah.
it felt also empty, and I was drinking too much. I was drinking like a glass or two of wine almost every single night just to like deal with the anxiety, like just to quiet my brain down so that I could go to sleep and not have a racing mind. And I was like, this is not who I want to be. Like, I don't like this person. And then, I had a shopping habit, and I would always tell myself, like, oh, I deserve this Chanel bag because I worked really hard today. And so I would buy constantly just whatever to soothe myself. It was like a coping mechanism. And I had all this crap in my closet that I didn't even wear, that I didn't really even like. Like after I bought it, I'm like, meh, why did I buy that? It was just like wasting money. And I just, one day I was like, I cannot live like this anymore. I really can't. And I think you just get fed up to the point that you can't take it anymore. But to your point, Lindsay, I have had this conversation with my friends and I'm like, it's so unfair that like right when your career is in its biggest growth phase, you're also raising a family. Like, why did those two things have to be simultaneous?
For
Like,
sure. Yeah.
you know what I mean? But then the kids are going to go to school, to college, because my older two stepkids are both now in college. And then you have all this free time because you're not, managing the kids, but then your career is going to be where it is as a result of what you did the 10 years prior, because
Right.
you're not going to like launch your career at 40. I mean, maybe you will. Some people do launch careers at 40, honestly. But it's so unfair because it's all happening at the same time and there's not enough time in the day to do all the things we want to do.
Yes.
Yeah, gosh, I know I'm like, I started a little bit later too. Like I had my son at 40 and I'm like, okay, it's like in the heart of my career and I'm like, oh my God. And then also I think like physically too, it's different when you're older. I mean, I think, and like just talking to friends who had, like I have two friends who had a kid when they were 20 or 21, and then another one when they were after 40, and they were like, it's so different physically having kids. So just adding that to the mix. But yeah, I know. And then, we talk about how as physicians, as moms, we're all kind of perfectionists. We're type A. How do you feel like perfectionism kind of shows up differently in women, especially, moms, high performers? Like what are we doing?
I mean, I think it's a lot of conditioning. Growing up
Mm-hmm.
for me in a strict Asian household,
Mm-hmm.
like if I brought home a 96, my dad wasn't like, good job. He said, what did you miss?
Oh,
Like,
jeez.
Oh
do you
yeah,
know what I'm
I
saying?
understand. Oh yeah, I
Yes.
Like,
totally understand.
that's it's such a weird like mindset thing,
Yeah,
you know?
it's a
So I
mindset
always
thing.
grew up feeling like perfection is the goal, 100 is the
Hmm.
goal, straight A's is the goal, and anything
Hmm.
less than perfection was unacceptable. I was a
Hmm.
professional figure skater in my previous
Wow.
Oh
life,
my
and
gosh, what
yeah,
haven't you done? Like
Oh
I
you
my
know.
are I
God.
was impressed with you before, but now after talking with you, I'm like, this woman is insane. You make me look you make me feel so lazy, you know.
No, 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 no. But I just remember like if I placed third or second even, my dad was like, "Oh, what did you get deductions on?" You know,
Oh
and that
my
was just his
gosh.
mindset. It was always like focusing on what the deduction was and not focusing on that I landed
Mm,
like my double double. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
mhm,
And
mhm,
so I think that was a lot of conditioning, and I think perfectionism is probably like one of the biggest topics that I talk about in my book, because the
mm,
subtitle is how I learned to stop chasing perfection and embrace connection.
Yeah.
mm,
So the
mhm,
problem with trying to maintain a facade of perfectionism is that it keeps you from trying new opportunities, because I
mm.
only want to do things that I know I'm already good at, like
Yes.
performing
Yeah.
anesthesia, like
Yeah.
cleaning, shopping,
Uh-huh.
whatever. Like I'm not going to
Uh-huh.
pick up a new hobby because I'm not going to know what I'm doing, and I don't want to seem like I don't know things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Totally.
it just kept me from so many opportunities. And when I
Mm,
decided to drop the perfectionism trope, it like opened up my life to be in full color. It was like I was living
yeah.
in black and white before,
Uh-huh.
playing
Uh-huh.
small.
Yeah.
And then when I decided to drop it, like all the colors came out, because I was like, oh,
Mm,
yeah, I'll do a stand up comedy gig for charity and invite my
yeah.
Yeah.
friends to come.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'll try Real Housewives. Yeah, I'll post on social media and like make a fool out of myself. And the trolls sometimes in the comments will be like, "You're so cringe," and I'm like, "You're commenting on my feed,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
which one of us is cringe?" Like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Um, and it allowed me to try new things and to like laugh at myself a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm not too serious. If you hang out with me, like I'm always laughing, joking. But 10 years ago, you wouldn't even recognize the person that I was. I was so
Wow.
serious all the time because
Mhm,
I didn't want people to think that I was like unprofessional.
Yeah.
mhm,
Whenever people
mhm,
don't like what a woman is doing, they just label her as unprofessional. Like that's
Yes.
the
mhm,
yeah.
mhm,
Um
mhm.
and now I just feel like I'm living my life joyfully and authentically
Yeah.
and
Mhm,
like full big,
mhm,
not playing
mhm,
small anymore.
mhm.